Hey everyone, welcome back to Tony Talks Money, where we talk about financial freedom and smart investing. I'm Tony, a financial advisor with over 30 years in the game, and today we're diving into part 2 of 5 ways to buy property for little or no money down. If you missed part 1, be sure to check it out on the channel. Let's get into it. This one's packed with gold. First up, joint ventures, or JVs. This is one of my favourite strategies because it lets you leverage other people's resources while offering your own skills in return. A joint venture in property investment is where 2 or more parties team up to buy, develop or manage a property. One might bring the money, another might bring the expertise, and together they share the risks and the rewards. Let me give you an example. I know a builder who's built a multi-million-dollar portfolio of properties without using a dime of his own money. Every project he does, he finds investors to fund 40% of the purchase price. The remaining 60% covered by a mortgage. He and his team do the building work for free as their contribution towards the purchase price. Once the project's done, he owns 60% of the property and the investors own 40%. Simple, repeatable, scalable, and that's exactly what he's done. And then there's a woman I know who started with nothing. She found a property in Liverpool which was quite cheap and below market value and borrowed just $15,000 from her mum to buy it. That went towards deposit and costs. From there, she borrowed from friends and family to buy more properties. Today, she's got a multi-million-dollar portfolio of properties. That's the power of joint ventures. Now, let's talk bridging loans. These are short-term loans, like a mortgage, designed to bridge a financial gap. That's why they're called bridging loans, often used when you want to secure a property fast. They're great for auctions because you have to buy the property within 30 days of the auction, or when you're buying before you've sold your current property, you might have a delay selling it. The big pro, speed. You can get the funds quickly. The con, cost. Rates can go up to 2% a month. But you don't usually have a bridging loan for very long. Usually 12 months is the minimum term, but it can be extended if the work takes a bit longer to maybe 18 months, maybe even 24 months, but usually 12 months. Once the renovation's done, you refinance with a high street lender at a much lower interest rate, maybe 6%, say, and ideally on the uplifted value of the property. Now be aware of the 6-month mortgage rule. It's designed to stop people from flipping properties too fast, but it can get in the way of genuine developers. Some lenders are more flexible, especially if you've significantly increased the property's value. So choose your lender carefully. Have you ever heard of property crowdfunding? This is where investors, usually online, pool their money together to invest in a property or development project. It's ideal if you want to invest with a smaller amount. Say the total needed is $500,000. You could put in just $1,000 and own a fraction of that property. The returns, of course, are proportionate to how much you invest. If it's an equity deal, you might earn from rental income or appreciation in value. If it's a loan, you earn interest. This is called peer-to-peer lending. I once raised $500,000 for a business loan through a peer-to-peer or P2P platform. It took under 2 weeks to raise the money. Now, I did have to offer a lot of security, including a personal guarantee, but the speed and access to funds were absolutely incredible. This approach opens the door for smaller investors to get involved in big deals, even large commercial property development deals, which they wouldn't normally have access to. Now, let's talk about rent to rent, especially rent to SA, it's known as, which means serviced accommodation. This is where you rent a property, reconfigure it and sublet it at a profit, usually as service accommodation or Airbnb. Classic example, rent a 3-bed house, convert it into 4 rooms by maybe changing one of the reception rooms, say a dining room, into a bedroom, and rent it out to guests at nightly rates, equivalent to hotel rates, instead of a monthly rent to a tenant. That's how you make serious cash flow. I've run a service accommodation business for 16 years now. Most of our properties are rented under standard tenancy agreements, and sublet as short stays or Airbnbs. It's been a solid model. Now, the downside, you don't benefit from the capital appreciation of the properties because you don't own them. But the upside, flexibility. If bookings slow down, particularly over the winter, you can hand back properties to the landlords. You can't do that if you own them. Rent to rent is great if you're starting out for the first time and need to build capital. In fact, I've now flipped the model. I'm buying a whole block of apartments, adding extra floors to turn it into 40 apartments from 17 to run my service accommodation business from that block. No more handbacks. I'll either run it myself or lease the entire block to another service accommodation operator. The uplift in value, that's a 7-figure capital gain. Happy days. Last but not least, so-called lease options. A lease option gives you control of a property with the right, but not the obligation, to buy it later at a set price today. Usually you rent the property under an agreement, a tenancy agreement, and pay enough to cover the mortgage, giving the owner peace of mind. It's a win-win. Great for buyers who don't have a deposit yet or who can't get a mortgage due to poor credit rating, and good for sellers who can't sell right away, usually due to having only a small amount of equity in the property or other reasons. You might even pay the mortgage directly for 5 years, for example, for the owner, then buy at a pre-agreed price from today. If prices go up during that time, which is quite likely, you got built-in equity from day one, and you've basically bought the property at a potentially very high discount. I know a lady who's built a multi-million-dollar property portfolio this way, and now she even trains other people. She generates plenty of income from property, but also from coaching, a true win-win. Just make sure you work with specialist solicitors who understand creative strategies like lease options. These are far more common in the US and countries like Australia in the New World, but starting to gain traction here in the UK. So there you go. 5 powerful ways to buy a property with little or no money down. Let me remind you what these 5 things are. Joint ventures or JVs, bridging loans, property crowdfunding, rent to rent, or lease options. If you're serious about growing your wealth through property, these strategies could be a game changer. Just remember, do your due diligence, work with professionals, and be creative but smart. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and drop a comment below. Tell me which strategy you're most interested in exploring. And until next time, stay smart, stay focused, and keep building that wealth. See you soon.